The juice is loose. Michael Keaton is back as Beetlejuice, so let's talk about it. After a family tragedy, 3 generations of the Deetz family return home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down when her teenage daughter Astrid accidentally opens the portal to the afterlife. The film stars Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, Jenna Ortega, Willem Dafoe, and Monica Bellucci, and was directed by Tim Burton, and he's done the original Beetlejuice film, Batman Returns, Batman 1989, Sleepy Hollow, Sweeney Todd, and many others. When Beetlejuice Beetlejuice was first announced, up to that point I had not seen the original Beetlejuice. A little bit less than a year ago, I did finally watch the original Beetlejuice, and I actually did like the movie. It definitely felt like an 80s style film. There's a little bit corny moments in it, but I think Michael Keaton's performance is absolutely excellent. You can definitely sense that it is a Tim Burton film with the style of it, the soundtrack, the look of it. It definitely feels like him. There's some stop motion animation, and there's just some really cool artsy type of parts that he throws into that film that really makes it really unique, and I can understand why it stands the test of time. Now with Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, what I did like about this film is obviously Michael Keaton is back in the role of Beetlejuice, and he does a great job here. He has the comedy, the charisma obviously to the character, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara also return to the film as well, which is great to see. And then we have a little bit of few new cast members. We have Willem Dafoe, Monica Bellucci, and Jenna Ortega as well. And what I did like about this film is the fact that it is very well shot. I think the sound is done very well. I think the soundtrack, it definitely brings out the Tim Burton vibes, and I think he just nails his aesthetics throughout any of his films. He knows exactly how to build worlds, and he does a really good job with that here, as you feel like you're back in the Beetlejuice world. You have that gothic kind of vibe, and he does a really good job with that. He just is an expert at doing gothic type of style, so I really did enjoy that about the film. What I didn't like about the film really goes into the stories themselves. There's 3 stories here. You first have Lydia, who is on a supernatural talk show in which she is doing stuff about ghosts. The show is called Ghost House. She's running this show with her boyfriend named Rory. She actually sees a vision of Beetlejuice, and then we find out from her stepmother, played by Catherine O'Hara, that her father has suddenly passed away, so there is a funeral, which is obviously shown in the trailer. Then we also have a storyline with Jenna Ortega, who is Lydia's daughter here, in which they have an estranged relationship that is not very good. She meets a boy named Jeremy, and they go into the afterlife, and I'm not really going to elaborate more on that, just to avoid spoilers. Then there is a third plot in which Beetlejuice's ex comes alive as basically a Frankenstein and comes to go find Beetlejuice, in which she really has nothing to do. I love the look of her character, but a lot of times because they're kind of juggling all these different plots as the film is going along, they just kind of forget about her. She really has nothing to do. She has a really cool character because she's technically a witch in which she can actually soul suck out of people, which is really cool. And there's some certain moments where she actually gets to demonstrate this, but we don't really see much of her. And by the time the third act actually hits, when she actually appears and she's in the mortal world, she doesn't really do anything, and it's taken care of really quick. So I didn't really like what they did with her character, as it just felt like something where if you took her out of the film, I don't think it really would have changed anything, but she didn't really add anything either. She was just a cool looking character with really nothing to do. Beetlejuice didn't really have a lot of screen time, and I remember watching that original film. He's kind of absent in a lot of parts of that film as well, but I do think the fact that that is a little bit more simpler story, I think when he does appear, he is a little bit more important, I think, in that film versus this one. He does have a little bit of a role, obviously, that he is playing in the afterlife here, but a lot of times we really focus on Lydia and Astrid and their relationship, things that are going on with Astrid and this boy that she met, Jeremy, in the afterlife. And then obviously we have Monica Bellucci that is thrown in as she's chasing him, in which I think that wasn't the wisest of choice. We also have Willem Dafoe in here. He plays this over-the-top B-movie action star in his mortal life, in which he looks really crazy looking, and he definitely plays the part and hams it up, which a lot of things in this film are really over the top, definitely with some of the singing numbers in here and the comedy. And actually, I had an audience of about 30 people, and a lot of times they were really laughing at the comedy. And I turned to my wife and I said, I really don't know what they're laughing at. I don't really think this is funny at all. And a lot of times throughout this movie, because there is a lot really going on, I felt kind of bored because there was a lot of things going on that really didn't really interest me. And the fact when Beetlejuice wasn't really on screen, I wasn't really getting into Jenna Ortega that much. I'm kind of at the point with Jenna Ortega where I want her to do a different kind of role. I feel like she plays this strange, ordinary, peculiar type of girl, but she really hasn't gotten out of that role yet. Obviously, she's played in Scream, but I really want her to do something a little bit different. I don't think her performance is bad, but again, we've kind of seen that before, and I want her to do something just a little bit different. Pacing was also a problem for me as well. I actually went with my son, my wife, and her mother as well, and my son was sitting next to me, and he said to me, I'm really bored, and I said, I kind of am too, as I just felt like it took a long time to actually get going. My wife's mother actually said that she was kind of bored at points and thought it was kind of stupid and the comedy wasn't landing. And that's how I felt about this film. There were a few parts, like when Beetlejuice actually sings the Bryan Adams song. That was pretty good, and it did make me chuckle a little bit. But really, mostly, the comedy didn't really land for me. It definitely landed for my wife. She had a good time with this movie. And I think that's really what it's going to ultimately depend on. Do you like this kind of comedy? And for me, it just wasn't my cup of tea overall. So as far as the score for this film, I would give it a 2 out of 5. I think it's one of those films where it really obviously depends on the comedy, how you really feel about the story. If you really love nostalgia, I definitely think that that is actually in this film. It's going to depend. How do you feel about your stories and your plots? Do you like them messy, jumbled up? Are you okay with that? Can you overlook all that to actually enjoy the movie? For me, I cannot. When it's really messy like that, it's very hard to enjoy the movie. And I just felt overall, this is just a movie that came very late, that was very unnecessary, but it made a ton of money. And you know there's going to be a third one, in which I'll probably be there and hoping that it is much better in the story department. So what did you guys think about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? And how do you think it compares to the original film? Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.